George Soros is panicking as he begins to see his beloved progressive DAs collapse, starting in San Francisco. We're going to take a look at the stunning recall election yesterday that just ousted one of America's most woke district attorneys. We're going to see how San Francisco is actually getting a bit red-pilled in the process. And make sure to stick with me at the very end of this video when we'll explore the political ramifications of all of this for our nation as a whole. You are not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone, patriots all across the globe. Dr. Steve here with you. Great to be with you as always. I am your patriot professor, helping you to think better so you can feel better in these crazy and turbulent times. So make sure to smack that bell and subscribe. But before we begin, if you've got an IRA, 401k, or savings account, you are going to love getting to know a patriot group that's become good friends to this channel as we're watching our retirement savings squandered with bumbling Biden's record inflation and reckless spending. Our amazing friends over at Goldco are here to help you find out how you can protect your retirement with the trustworthiness of gold and silver. And just to show you how amazing these guys are, click on that link below right now, and they're going to give you, I kid you not, up to $10,000 in free silver when you open an account. You heard that right, 10 G's in free silver, but it is a limited time offer, so do not wait. Click on that link below or go to turleytalkslikesgold.com and find out how awesome Goldco really is. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. So, one of the single most left-wing district attorneys in the nation, funded by none other than George Soros himself, has just been effectively recalled, and he was recalled, ironically, in one of the most left-wing areas of the nation. Voters went to the polls yesterday and overwhelmingly voted in favor of recalling San Francisco prosecutor Chesa Boudin, who up until yesterday was the city's radical left-wing district attorney. Boudin, when originally elected back in 2019, was of course the beneficiary of the stockpiles of cash that Soros has been pouring into district attorney races across the nation in an effort to dismantle our supposedly systemically racist justice system. And Boudin has certainly been busy doing that. Since coming into office, Boudin has been implementing what he calls, quote, restorative justice, which sought to end mass incarceration by finding alternatives to locking up criminals. Locking up criminals, according to the now former district attorney, doesn't get to the root of the problem of violent crime. Restorative justice takes a more holistic approach that seems to bring healing to both victim and victimizer. In other words, be prepared to be robbed. You better get ready to be a crime victim because the criminals are going to be running the streets. And I mean, I could think of few examples, frankly, that better exemplify the utter arrogance, the complete conceit that infects left-wing progressives than thinking that they and they alone have the answers to solve human evil and wickedness. It's just so psychopathological. Ironically, it's their own kind of evil, isn't it? That's why progressivism can never, ever work in the end. It's an evil ideology that makes the arrogant claim that it alone can effectively resolve our social evils. Well, I'm ecstatic to report that even the highly progressive voters of San Francisco concur, and it would be hard not to. Today, San Franciscans face about a 1 in 16 chance of being a victim of property of violent crime, which actually makes San Francisco more dangerous than 98% of U.S. cities. Just to bring that home, Compton, California, which is the infamous home of drug gang turf wars, right? Obviously, very, very dangerous place. More dangerous than 90% of the U.S. cities. Nevertheless, statistically, you would be twice as safe living in Compton than you would be in San Francisco. I mean, that's how bad things have gotten. And so, I mean, it's sad. I got to be honest, it's a bit personal for me. My mom's side of the family, they're all out in San Francisco and Marin County, right just over the Golden Gate Bridge. And I grew up spending lots of summers in San Francisco. I love the city. It is a beautiful city, but it has, without question, culturally and socially degenerated. And to make matters even worse, Soros cash put in this guy, Boudin, who, if you don't know, his parents were members of the terrorist group, the Weather Underground, right, led by Bill Ayers. And he himself was a former translator in Hugo Chavez's presidential palace in Venezuela. I mean, it's true. You can't make this stuff up. And as National Review is reporting, when he got into office back in 2019, Bodine ended cash bail. He stopped prosecuting drug possession cases stemming from, quote, pretextual traffic stops. He stopped using enhancements to extend prison sentences for convicted gang members and stopped prosecuting so-called quality of life crimes. So these are things like prostitution, public camping, homelessness, in other words, public defecation, open-air drug use. And so obvious to anyone who hasn't been blinded by leftist ideology, and keep in mind, always remember, ideology is a secularized religion. Obviously, those measures sent a message far and wide that San Francisco was a consequence-free place to engage in low-level crimes, which simply encourage more crime in the city generally, and ultimately violent crime as well. So, when all is said and done, the citizens of San Francisco rebelled, and the overwhelming majority voted this guy out of office. 60% of the vote, by the way. Now, you should know, this is not the first time San Francisco has done this. I did a video a few months back on parents who came out in droves in a recall effort to vote out 3 radical leftists from the San Francisco School Board. And all 3 radical leftists were voted out with at least 70% of the vote. I mean, it was a stunning repudiation of CRT and all kinds of woke leftist progressivism infiltrating San Francisco schools. And when the results came in, Scott Pressler recognized the national significance of this when he tweeted out, "I have massive earth-shattering news. San Francisco voted to recall 3 school board members. Each will be ousted from office. This was a victory for parental choice in education and for our students. If we can do this in San Francisco, we can do this everywhere across the country." And he is absolutely right. What we're seeing happening in San Francisco is a pattern that we've been seeing all across the country. And we've been talking about this on other videos. I think this is absolutely huge. The pattern is basically this. Whenever you put up a woke issue, whether it's CRT or so-called restorative justice, right, or transgender athletes competing in women's sports, whatever it is, the data that we have shows that woke issues actually split the Democrats. It could be 50-50, 60-40. That's what we saw in San Francisco, right? This referendum on a radically woke DA, right, broke 60-40. Woke issues split the Democrats. We have to remember the Democrats are made up of cultural liberals on one side who tend to be older, like Bill Maher, Piers Morgan. They care deeply about free speech and due process and equal treatment of the law, scientific rationalism. But on the other side, you've got like your full-blown woke Bolsheviks who reject classical liberalism in favor of a belligerent agenda of silencing and cancel culture and cultural Marxism and the like. So this is why woke issues always end up splitting the Democratic Party. However, you'll note, while woke issues split the Democrats, they have the opposite effect with Republicans. If you ask Republicans if they support woke issues like CRT or transgender sports or whatever, restorative justice, what's their answer going to be? It's a resounding, harmonious, unanimous no. A resounding hell no. And here's the bottom line for the political ramifications of this. Republicans are far more motivated to oppose woke issues than Democrats are to support them. That's how Glenn Youngkin won in Virginia. He turned the election into a referendum on CRT, right, critical race theory. And he kept the Democrat, Terry McAuliffe, completely on his heels, having to defend issues that split his Democrat base, all the while unifying Youngkin's Republican base. So we're absolutely staring in the face of what may indeed be a political earthquake like we never imagined. So stay tuned. We may not have seen anything yet. Now, before you go, you will definitely want to check out my latest video on George Soros panicking at the World Economic Forum, saying explicitly globalism may not survive Russia's invasion of Ukraine. His whole liberal world is collapsing. You are not going to want to miss this. So make sure to click on that link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.